Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be breaking down and reacting to Let the Right One In. Now, full disclosure, this is not a new movie to me. I have seen it before. I just decided to do a rewatch of it. This is actually a fantastic movie. I know that there is a remake. It has a similar title, but not quite the same, I think. Actually, let me check that real quick. Remake. Why are we all capitals? There we go. There we are. There's an American remake. Let Me In is what that one's called. I've seen both. Let the Right One In is actually a Swedish movie. It is in Swedish. You have to watch it in subtitles. I will say when you watch, I don't remember where I originally watched it on. I think I had to turn subtitles on. But if you watch it on Tubi right now, subtitles are already on. And like I said, I've seen both. The Swedish version is far superior, and I was just doing a little bit of digging around, and I can tell you exactly why the Swedish version is superior. It is because it was actually a book written by a Swedish author, and that author also is the one who adapted the book into the Swedish film. So listen, he did a phenomenal job. This movie came out in 2008, and like I said, it is I loved this movie. It is, in my opinion, very, very sad. It is a very sad movie. It kind of got me in my feels a little bit. It's also kind of terrifying. And the sort of overall aesthetic that the cinematography gives this movie is so bleak. It is so bleak. It is just a very well done movie from start to finish. I thoroughly enjoy this movie, and I don't normally do this, but I also highly recommend watching it. But I mean, like I said, both are good, but you have to watch the Swedish version, the original version first. So having said that, this movie takes place in a Swedish suburb in 1982. Okay, we meet Oscar and his mother, and I don't think her name is ever actually said. I have a couple of articles here because I had questions. Yvonne, they do name. I don't recall ever hearing, so it must be said in the book, because remember, this was originally a book. So Oscar resides with his mother, Yvonne. Oscar is bullied relentlessly by, I think it's like three or four classmates specifically. And he tends to, when we see him, he's often spending his time in the evenings fantasizing his revenge. Like in the beginning of the very, very opening, really, we meet Oscar, who's this, I don't know how he's described in the book, but in the movie, he's this very small, skinny, blonde boy. Like he's tiny. And he's, outside in the courtyard of his, it's one of those, if I can find a picture to show you what I'm thinking. I can't describe it. It's like stacks of apartments, right? but it's in like one of those kind of like U-shaped sort of, so there's like a courtyard kind of in, I don't know, but he's in the courtyard, okay? And there's like a little climber kind of in the middle of it, and then, there's trees and whatever. And he's out there in this courtyard, and he's, muttering to himself about, as if he were the bully, I suppose, or facing the bully, right? The bully tends to call him Piggy. Squeal Piggy, they tell him all the time. And so this is what he's saying, Squeal Piggy, are you scared? Like, right? And then we see him take this knife, and it's I mean, considering the size of this kid, this is a pretty hefty knife, okay? It's probably about like yay. And it's in like this, sheath and whatever, and it's all fancy. Takes this out, and he starts attacking the tree. The next time we see him doing this is when, okay, I'm jumping the gun. So this is how we meet him, as him, like he really wants to get back at these bullies. Like, he's really hating this, right? But he's very meek, he's very quiet, he's weak, like, he's not a fighter at all. One evening he meets Ely, who appears to be a girl his age. Ely has moved into the adjoining apartment with a man, I'm going to say his name wrong, Hakan, I think it's Hakan, Hakan, but there's like a little thing above the first A, I don't know, Hakan. Ely informs Oscar that they cannot be friends, but the two begin exchanging coded messages through their shared wall. So when he meets Ely, like I said, they show up in the middle of the night in a cab, right? Ely and Hakan. And immediately, like as soon as they get upstairs, Oscar is out in the courtyard, and he's sitting on the climber thing, it's like a monkey bar, but not a monkey bar. And he looks up, and Hakan is putting all this like boxes and stuff up against the window, blocking out the window, right? And a couple other people, like adults that are walking around, kind of see this, and everybody's kind of like, the fuck, right? The fuck? And when Oscar actually meets Ely, again, they're in the courtyard, and he's just sort of sitting there, whatever. And she just sort of appears, like, and she kind of startles him a little bit, and they do like a little bit of banter, very childish, kind of cute. And she just flat out says, listen, like, I gotta tell you, we can't be friends. Like, I just so you know, right? And she leaves, and Oscar's all like, well, why are you so sure that I want to be your friend? But, as their relationship does sort of progress, right? Oscar comes up with the idea in class he finds this book that like teaches Morse code and breaks down the alphabet in Morse code, right? So he writes it down and gives it to Ely, and together they learn it, and they start communicating to each other through their wall. It's so cute. Listen, it is so cute. Very, very, very Gen X kind of thing to do, right? Just saying. Ely learns that Oscar is being bullied by schoolmates and encourages him to stand up for himself. Oscar then enrolls in exercise classes after school, which, listen, he works so hard. He really does. This kid is so cute. This little blonde boy, he is just ridiculously cute. I mean, listen, most of the way through the movie, it's winter in Sweden, which I would imagine is like stupid cold. So like his nose is dripping through this entire fucking movie. But I mean, he's just the cutest little, I think he's like 12 years old or something. He's just the cutest fucking thing I've ever seen. Like, this kid is ridiculously cute. And to see this boy and the hell that he's been going through with these kids at school, to see him trying so hard to get himself into shape so that he has the strength and the confidence to stand up for himself is, you're just like, you do that, boy. Like, fuck yeah, buddy. Right? And Ely is very much like, hit them back. Like, hit this kid back. Don't take his shit. And he tells her, look, there's more than one. And she's like, so hit harder. Like, she is me. Okay. This is the advice I always gave my boys. Right? Don't be a troublemaker. But when trouble finds you, you finish that. Done. Right? Don't start it, but finish it. Hacken, who you will remember is sort of the father of Ely, kills a person on a footpath to get blood for Ely. Prior to him actually going out, we see him getting ready for the hunt. And it's, I mean, listen, the thought that goes behind what he is about to do, he's been doing this a good long while, okay? He's got like a case that folds up to hide everything, but inside that case is like this, like a scuba gear kind of deal, you know, with the oxygen. It's like an oxygen tank, and it's got the mask and everything, and but there's like a chemical in it that when, you know, he attacks, he puts this mask on, right? He turns like, and it's like super quick, right? Because he's got to put the mask on and turn the thing on, and so they can breathe it in, and like it makes them pass out, right? And then also in there he has this like a jerry can kind of deal, but it doesn't have it. I don't know. It's like a jerry can, but different, okay? And then he's got this funnel, and you see him like cleaning everything, making sure everything's nice and clean and whatever, and then like packing it all, and it all fits inside this little tiny case that just looks like you're carrying, like, I don't know, something bigger than a briefcase, but I mean, it wouldn't be, I mean, I wouldn't look twice at somebody carrying something like this. I'd just be like, okay, it's some guy with like his business shit, right? Like thought goes behind this. This is what I mean when I say it's like creepy shit. Like it's just so methodical. But this night out in particular, he is interrupted by passerbys. It's actually more by a dog, and the dog actually kind of saves him. Like he jumps this guy, and again with the preparation, right? Like he brings rope and all this stuff, and you know, he knocks this guy out. And I mean, he's a big guy, and you have to remember that Hacken is an older man, right? He's probably somewhere in his 60s. Like, not that that's old. I mean, I'm almost 50, but I mean, he's an older man. So to do the very physical things that he's doing is very impressive. Like he knocks this, he gets this guy, right? He knocks him out, puts the mask on, knocks him out, brings him to the woods, right? Because they're on a pathway. So he brings him to the woods and ties up his feet, gets that around a tree branch, and uses that to pull him up so he's hanging upside down, and like bleeds him like livestock. Like is literally what he does. And then this dog sort of comes and just starts barking at him. He's like throwing snow at it. Fuck off. And he's like right in the middle of the act. He's in the middle of draining this guy, right? He's got his jerry can or whatever with the funnel thing, and he's trying to be very clean about it, right? He's got this clear poncho sort of deal on to keep himself clean, and you know, like very thought out. Like this is not his first rodeo, right? He ends up having to abandon, so he grabs like the scuba gear thing, or packs all that stuff up and just leaves, right? But he leaves without blood, right? The bit of blood that he's been able to gather. And And he ends up having to leave because this dog, right? And there's like, I don't know, 3 other people that are out walking this dog with no leash. And they happen across the body, right? Trying to collect their dog. Ely is this situation forces Ely to have to go out and find her own source of blood, right? She's hungry. Like at one point, the 2 kids are out in the courtyard, as they are, and Oscar makes a comment about how she smells funny, right? And she doesn't look very good either. Like, she looks sickly, right? But she's always got her head kind of down, and like, she's very meek and whatever. She speaks very quietly, right? So she's hungry and she needs blood. So she ends up going out and killing a man. I think Swedish names, okay? Joke. I think it's Joke. Jokke. I think it's Joke. I'm sorry. There's a sort of a homeless person, or I don't know if he was homeless or if he was just like somebody that really kind of like reclusive, that sort of keeps themselves or whatever. But regardless, there's a witness to the attack. No, he wasn't homeless, because he was, I think he was in his apartment. I think he was in an apartment looking out the window. But anyway, he witnesses the attack and files a report about the incident, okay? Hacken hides Joke's body in a hole in the lake, like by the sewage area, I believe, because there was a pipe there and running water. It didn't look like a running river to me. It looked like it was like drainage, maybe not sewage, but like drainage that does actually go out into a lake, right? But he dumps the body closest to the drain, and then has this like red pokey thing and uses it to push him under the ice. Hacken makes another effort to get blood for Ely by trapping a boy in a room after school. He's very, very unsuccessful. He tells Ely that evening that he's going to go back to the school. She's had a little bit of blood, but I mean, like, she's hungry, right? She's not doing well. So she's doing better, but I mean, she needs to keep her strength up, right? I mean, we all need to eat every day, right? So, like, multiple times a day. She only gets to feed at night, so there's like a time limit on, And he says to her, "I'm going to go back to the school, and I'm going to handle this. Like, I'm going to get at, like, I will make this up to you," right? He feels horrible. He's like, he loves her, right? He wants to, he's her caretaker, right? He cares about her. He loves her. He like loves her, okay? It sounds weird, but it'll all will be revealed. Because she's like 12 and he's like 60. He's probably not 60 now that I think about it. I think he just looks older than he is, probably because of like his life, right? But I mean, I'm just saying. But he gets this boy at the school and he has him like tied upside down somehow in the locker room. Like, he's got his legs around something and tied to it. And then he's got his arms zip tied. Like, there's like this pole. I don't know what it is. He's up against something, right? And I mean, the kid ain't going nowhere. He's also unconscious when we see them, right? Like, we see him stalking outside the school. We see the boys inside playing basketball. We see the lights go out, whatever, whatever. And then, boom, we're in the locker room with this lone high school boy and Hackett, right? And as he's about to do the deed, the power goes out, right? Everything's turned off. The school is closed now. And Hacken sets up this flashlight because he comes prepared. I mean, he comes prepared. And he puts the flashlight in the window and angles it so that he can see the boy's neck, right? And he's got to do his business. And he goes to do he gets the flashlight set up and he moves to go do his business. And he doesn't even make it over to the kid. His friends are all outside. They see the flashlight and they're calling their buddy, like, what are you doing? I guess he went in to go pee or something. And they're like, you can pull it at home. What are you doing? Like, we gotta go, right? And then he comes to. And of course, starts screaming for help, right? Everybody's, we're coming. And the door's locked and they got to break it down. And Hacken goes into the bathroom area of the locker room, right? Where the sinks and toilets and stuff are. And he just sort of sits in the corner and waits for them to break down the door. And he brought with him this acid, which we see at the apartment before he leaves, right? He even says to Ely, like, if I get caught, like, this is my way out, sort of deal, right? Like, he has a plan for if he gets caught this time, right? Like, caught. So when they all break down this door, he pours this acid down his face. Now, it had been knocked over in the struggle, so he lost a great deal of this acid on the floor, but what was left in the jar he took with him. And as I said, when they broke down the door, he pours it on his face, and all we hear is him screaming. We don't see. This movie is not gory per se. A lot of stuff is implied. A lot of stuff you start to see and it cuts away, or it happens off camera, but everything is strongly implied. Ely hears of a man being brought to hospital, that he was suspected of murder or attempted murder on this boy, right? And they were looking into him for the other murder. But that, they couldn't identify him, that his face was severely disfigured, that he's in critical condition at the hospital, all this type of stuff. And Ely hears this over the radio. So she ends up going to the hospital. And she goes in and talks to the nurse to find out, like, what floor he's on and all this kind of stuff. And they said, like, he's a dangerous suspect. You have to be let in by the police, la, 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 la. And she's like, never mind, it's fine. Like, never mind, it's fine. And she leaves, right? When she leaves, the nurse notices she's got no shoes on. Like, this kid is always barefoot, right? It's wintertime, it's snowy, it's slushy, her feet are wet and very blue. Like, I mean, she's never wearing coats. Like, she's always just in, like, her sweater and her pants or whatever, and bare feet, right? So the nurse notices this and she's just heartbroken over it, right? This poor kid, right? And she goes out to collect her. And the nurse is, like, looking around in the parking lot. She can't see Ely anywhere. She's like, she's thinking this kid is out wandering around all by herself, no parental figure to speak of, or her dad or whatever is up in the, right? And she can't find her. So she turns around and goes back in. But if you look in that shot, if you look up at the hospital that's in the shot behind her, you see Ely just sort of, like, frozen in place up on the wall of this hospital, right? She's climbing the hospital wall. She's Spider-Manning her way up the wall. And when the nurse turns around and goes back in, she Spider-Man's her way back up the wall to Hacker. When she gets to him, she taps on the window and asks for Hacker to, or Hacken to let her in, right? She needs permission to enter, as vampire lore says, right? um and he tells her, he motions to her like he can't talk, right? He just does this, right? But he gets out of bed, he walks over and he opens up the window, and she's just sitting out on the ledge. And he takes his breathing thing out. I gotta sneeze. Oh, he's gone. Okay. And just sort of leans into her, offering himself to feed her. So Ely obliges and, drains him of his blood, and then just sort of lets him fall out the window. It's a very sad thing. I mean, he is heartbroken, right? He's in a situation where he's kind of put her in danger because, they're looking for this serial killer, right? Well, I guess at this point they're just looking for the one killer. Yeah, just the guy that he hung in the tree, and then the attempted, right? And now he can't take care of her. It's physically impossible. Because either he would be in jail, right, for these crimes, or his physical deformity, he would not, right? So he's useless to her. So the only way he can help her and the only way he can benefit her is by keeping her strong in the now. And so he gives her the last thing he has, and that's his blood, right? And her just letting him fall from the window, I mean, you can see, I mean, she could care less about the corpse, right? It's just a shell. It's a body. It means nothing to her. It's what's inside that, right? Does that make sense? Okay. So I found it sad, and the score that they play, if I remember correctly, there's like, the way that the scene is done is just, I felt bad. I mean, they're horrible people, but again, I mean, she's just trying to survive, right? Like, there's a way that she puts it a little bit later in the movie that kind of sums it up. Once Hacken is dead, Ely goes to Oscar's apartment and spends the night with him, during which they agree to go steady. Although Ely states to him, "I am not a girl." Like, he says to her, like, she gets his permission to come in, right? She shows up at his window. And he says, like, "Get in here, girl, it's cold," right? So she comes on in. He's half asleep, and she's all, like, covered in blood and whatever, and she says, "Don't look at me, but tell me that I can come in." And he's like, "Yeah, get on. Like, get in here. It's fine," right? He just falls back into bed. When she comes in, she strips everything off and gets into bed with him. And he says to her, like, "You're not wearing anything." Bear in mind, they're 12. Okay. And she's like, "Is that gross? Is that weird?" And he says to her, he wants to go steady with her, and she's like, "No, like, can we not stay the way we are? Like a typical girl. Can we just not be friends? Like, come on now. Can I just not lay here naked and cuddle with you and it just be a friend thing?" Like, it's so funny. And, he's like, "Yeah, I guess I'll stay in the friend zone. Fine." Right? But Ely says, like, "Is there anything special that you have to do if you're going steady, right?" And they're 12. Oscar's like, "No, like, no." So she agrees to it. And so now they're going steady. Like, it's a very weird situation, scene, whatever. given the context of everything. But on the other hand, it is also like weirdly cute. Like, I don't know. I don't know. But the thing about not being a girl, and she says to like, would you like me if I wasn't a girl? And he's like, I guess. Like, sure. Why not? They're 12. While on a field trip, the bullies again start harassing Oscar, who's at his limit with the whole thing. He's just like, fuck this shit. They're off skating. Okay, like the whole school. And they're all put off into groups, right? Like the middle schoolers and, you know, the little kids and the high school kids. They're all put into their groups. And they have their assigned group of teachers and whatever. And, you know, so they're all off skating on the lake or river, whatever. And the 3 or 4 boys that we have seen harassing Oscar, and I mean, like, they're flicking him, they're calling him Piggy, they're getting like right up in his face and like on him. And at one point when he started the training, they took his pants and put it in the urinal. Like, I mean, because the kid had to walk home in the winter with fucking shorts on. Like, I mean, no thank you. You know, he's had it. He's done, right? So while they're skating, they sort of, and they say to him when they get there, like, you know, like, we're gonna push you down the hole, because the kids are all told to avoid this hole in the ice, right? And so they find him and they kind of get him alone off, you know, and we're gonna push you in this hole. And Oscar's kind of like, you fucking think so, do you? And he's holding this red pole that we saw earlier when Hacken killed that first guy and used the poker to poke him under the ice, okay? Oscar goes over to that exact area and finds that red poker. And then the boys segregate him off toward further away, right? They're getting him toward that hole. And the one boy says, I think his name is Connie. I think his name was Connie. Like, what are you going to do with that stick? And Oscar tells him, I'm going to handle some business if you come near me. Like, if you're going to start some shit, I'm going to finish it. You're not going to like it. As he, you know, Connie, I think his name was Connie. He's like, listen, here's what's going to happen, Piggy. I'm going to shove you, and you're not going to do a damn thing about it, right? He says something to this effect to this boy, right? And Oscar's just like, my guy, fucking touch me. Like, you can kind of see very subtly, Oscar's not looking like the meek little thing that we have seen thus far, right? Like, the wheels are turning, things are bubbling, like he's getting very angry. So he ends up smacking. I'm just going to keep calling him Connie because I think that's his name. He ends up smacking him across like the ear with this thing. And he immediately hits the ice, right? And starts screaming. At the same time, little kids that have been goofing around over by the drainage area, that pipe, start screaming and pointing as well. So we've got one teacher running over here to deal with Connie, who we eventually see is bleeding profusely from the head, right? Like, I believe he sliced his ear, like not off, but like open, like this, right? So this is just all cut here. And the other teacher goes running toward the little ones. They end up finding that first man. Well, not the first man. It was the man that Ely had killed, right? That he brought down to the water. And they chainsaw him out of the lake because he's like frozen in the lake. Later on, Oscar suggests that he and Ely bond, do like a blood bond. They go to this place where like the older kids go, where the teenagers go, and there's like a radio there. And was it a radio? I think it was a radio. It couldn't have been a record player, because that needs electricity, but I'm pretty sure it was like like a boom box. And so they put music on, and you know, he's telling her about the spot. There's like graffiti all over the walls, and there's like a little lantern in there and some makeshift furniture, whatever. Like, it's a place for the older kids to go and get drunk or get high or get laid or what, play poker, whatever, right? And you know, he's talking about, you know, he's sitting there and she's sort of walking around, whatever, and he gets this idea. He gets his little knife that he carries all the time, and he slices his hand and says, you know, like, we could do like a blood bond, right? And he holds his hand out to her, and it's of course dripping, and she's just looking at him. He goes, it doesn't hurt, like, it's fine, we can, you know, be blood bonded or whatever. As his hand is dripping, Ely can't stop looking at this puddle of blood that's forming under his hand, right? And she totally gives no fucks that he's there. And he's like, Ely, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And all of a sudden she just, I mean, boom, down on the floor, and she's lapping up this blood, and Oscar's standing there like, what the fuck? And she looks up and she tells him, like, you know, go away, don't look at me, go away. And he's just standing like absolutely frozen, and she's like, fuck this shit, and she just takes off. She's like, okay, bye. If you're not gonna leave, I sure as shit will. Jock, I can't pronounce his name. The guy that we'd seen earlier in the movie, watching Ely and them come in from his flat. His friend, Lake. Again, these names, Lacke, has a fight with his girlfriend Virginia. And afterwards, Ely attacks her. So she actually leaves her own apartment, I believe. It's this apartment we keep seeing, filled with cats and a lot of cigarette smoke. But they're, you know, she's there with these two guys, and they're talking about, you know, the crimes that are going on, and you know, whatever the social political issues are in Sweden at the time that this movie was done, right? They're just having a great big old rant session, and he gets a little nasty with Virginia, and she's like, fuck this shit, and she just leaves. She's like, peace out, yo, I'll leave my own apartment, whatever. And when she does, I mean, he catches up with her at some point, and she just tells him to kind of fuck off, right? And she goes up the stairs and out of view. As she gets out of view, we see Ely kind of drop down from nowhere, as she has done a couple times, and bite her and start draining her, right? Well, then Lake, if I'm saying that right, if not, I'm so sorry, runs up the stairs and just like mollywops Ely off of Virginia, right? And picks her up and takes her back to the apartment or whatever. I think it was her apartment. I don't think he took her to the hospital yet. I think he took her to the apartment originally and like bandaged her up and whatever, right? Virginia survives the attack, but discovers that she has become sensitive to light. So like as she's sleeping, there's a beam of light coming in through her shades, and it touches her finger, and her finger burns, and she's like, what the fuck? That is not the way you want to wake up in the morning. And she gets up out of bed and goes to open the blinds, as you do. Like, I get up every morning, the first thing I do when I come downstairs is open all my curtains, right? Like, I need the light. I need the light. If I'm gonna do any kind of productive thing during that, I need the light, okay? Open everything up. So she goes to open her shades and immediately drops them and ends up on the bed, just all, right? Like, it was not a good time. She did not have a good morning. That is horrid. I couldn't imagine. Oscar confronts Ely, who admits to being a vampire. Oscar is upset by Ely's need to kill people for survival. Ely insists that they are alike, her and Oscar, in that Oscar wants to kill, but Ely needs to kill. This is what I was talking about earlier, and encourages him to be me for a while. She says this to him a couple of times, like, and she has a point, right? We've seen Oscar several times throughout the movie, stabbing a tree. Okay, like 12 years old. Okay, so this is not normal. It is normal as I was bullied a little bit in school, mainly by boys. Okay, but my bullying was like, on the ground fighting. I was never teased or made fun of. It was like, and it was all on behalf of my brother, right? I was put in situations where I had to defend myself against these boys because these boys were using me to get to my brother, thinking that my brother gave a shit if they beat the fuck out of me. He didn't. Didn't care. But I fought back. Me and Oscar are the same. But if you're taunted and whatever, I could imagine that you would be like, just, oh, if I could just, right? I could kill you. But like mean it, right? Not just like an angry, Whereas, Ely is not sitting around wishing to kill people, right? She needs to live. She can't go to the supermarket and buy a container of pig's blood because in this universe, she can only ingest human blood. Anything else makes her physically ill. She throws it up, right? At one point, we see them at a store or something, and Oscar buys this candy. And as kids do, she's offering his friend some candy, and she turns it down. When she sees that this upsets Oscar, right? His shoulders go down, his head goes down. It hurts his feelings that she turns down the candy, right? So she's like, maybe I can just have one little piece, right? And immediately she eats it and, kind of, yay. But in the next scene, we see her behind the wall of the store. Excuse me, my allergies. We see her behind the wall of the store throwing up. And Oscar's like, dude, I'm sorry. So she has no choice. Like, literally, she has no choice. If she is going to survive, she needs to kill a human being and have their blood, right? There is a difference between the two of them, but a similarity at the same time, right? And her saying, be me for a while is just basically like, take a day and walk in my shoes, okay? Put yourself in my place, right? She is also she's 12. She's been 12 for a long time, as she says, but she has the body of a 12-year-old, right? She is small, like a 12-year-old girl. She has the strength of something, not a 12-year-old girl, but not the strength I would imagine of somebody with her power, but bigger, like adult-sized, right? Does that make sense? So hence why she needs to have somebody else who can go kill for her, right? Also, I think if she got caught, right? What is she supposed to go to jail? Is she gonna fight all the cops? Right? Anyways, rant. While in the hospital, Virginia asks an orderly to open the blinds for her. Now, Virginia ended up in the psych ward. Okay, she had an absolute shit fit over needing some blood. But she didn't understand why. She just kept saying, you know, that girl bit me and she has infected me, is what she says, right? And I don't know if, excuse me, if, what was his name? Lake. I don't know if Lake was like her. I think they were brother and sister because they have a conversation about an inheritance of some sort or whatever at some point, and I get brother sister vibes from them. But he's an alcoholic, like a raging alcoholic, and gets cruel, right? But anyways, he ends up taking her to the hospital and she's admitted in the psych ward. So she's like strapped down to this bed and everything. I haven't even had a sip of my coffee yet. Going on and on for almost an hour now. Oh, yes. So now that she's sort of settled down and whatever, she has kind of decided she doesn't want to play this game no more. If you catch my drift. And she says to the orderly, you know, can you please open the blinds for me? And he's like, of course. Like, crazy people need sunshine. It calms them down. Fuck yeah. Fuck, I'm so glad you're feeling better, right? He started to like unbind her and whatever. And he goes to open the curtains, and she immediately bursts into flames. Like, there's no smoke, there's no that hurts, so just boom, immediate flames, right? And the whole fucking room is on fire, and the orderly is pinned against the wall where the window is, and I'm thinking it's her brother, but Lake runs in, and you know, so they're on opposite sides of this fucking flame ball that's shooting up from the bed. And the flames are going all over the ceiling. It's actually a really cool shot. The cinematography in this movie really is quite something. Lake sets out to find and kill Ely. He ends up finding her asleep in her apartment's bathtub. Now, Oscar had spent the night with her that night, so she had left him a note saying, you know, I'm sleeping in the bathroom. And kind of making plans for the next evening, right? So Oscar's still in the room, still in the apartment. This guy breaks into the apartment. Oscar is hiding under like the kitchen table. And this guy is just going through the apartment. Of course, there's nothing in this apartment, right? Like, they didn't move in with furniture or anything. There's like a table that has a bunch of junk on it. Like rings and whatever. Something that's valuable and worth money, whatever. That the kids talk about earlier. So he's just sort of pacing through the apartment trying to find her. And he ends up finding her in the bathroom. He breaks in the door because she has it locked. And she's under all these blankets and whatever, and he peels everything back and finds her sleeping. And he's got this little knife with him, and he goes to like stab her in the neck with it, and decides he can't see what he's fucking doing because the window is all covered up, right? So he peels back some of this stuff in the window, and Oscar is suddenly behind him yelling no, and Ely wakes up and just all hell breaks loose, right? Again, it's a well shot scene. We don't see any of the actual violence that's happening. It's literally happening behind the door. But what we see is Oscar's point of view, and we see Lake's hand or arm shoot out from the door trying to grab Oscar for help, right? And he's begging for help. And then we see his arm go up and his arm go down, and we see blood splatter, and then, you know, the arm ain't moving no more. It's a very well done shot. I really, really enjoyed the cinematography in this movie. Eventually that sneeze is going to come. Oh, Jesus. Afterward, Ely thanks Oscar and kisses him. fearing that they've attracted too much attention from the neighbors, Ely decides that it isn't safe to stay and leaves that night. Oscar is lured to resume his I don't know, weightlifting, bodybuilding. He does weightlifting, but he also does like, I don't know, like calisthenics in the pool or something. So he's lured in by one of the older boys to go back to the school to resume this program at the pool, right? And so he does. And his coach is very happy to see him. I guess he's taken some time off or whatever. But there is a group of bullies, and it's Connie's brother, older brother. And I think it was Connie's friends. It was Connie's older brother and then Connie's friends, the regular group of bullies, right? And they all end up going to the school. And they organize this like distraction. They go outside and they set this, I don't know, there's like this weird stone thing that's kind of like a bowl outside. I fucking know. But they fill it full of shit and they set it ablaze. And this is their way of getting the teacher out of the school, right? And so when he goes to deal with the fire, the other boys come in and tell all the other kids to get the fuck out, right? And really, bye-bye, you're done. The night's over. Have a good night. Get the fuck out of here, right? And the brother gets down, and of course, Ely's trapped in the pool. And he says to him, listen, here's what's going to happen, my guy. You fucked up my brother. Who deserved it. Maybe not to that extent. But he deserved to get his cage rattled, that's for sure. But the brother says to him, listen, here's what's going to happen. You are going to go underwater for 3 minutes. Okay? If you manage to stand there for 3 minutes, then all I'll do is, I don't know, like cut your cheek or some shit like that. If you don't, I take one of your eyes. An eye for an ear sort of deal. You understand? Okay? This is what he's telling this kid, who's like, just kind of like in the pool, like, fuck me. Right? He's surrounded by these other boys. But there is one who went and sat up on the bleachers, I have to mention. Okay? There's one boy who's, I don't think he's really taken part in anything. He's just sort of been there. I don't really remember. Because I know at some point when they're like attacking Oscar with like, they're like whipping him with like a switch or something. And the two boys that Connie gets to do that on his behalf, the two boys that are doing that are actually crying while they're doing it. I don't really feel bad for them because they still fucking did it. But I mean, so I think one of those boys was sitting up on the bleachers. So he's not down there with anybody, right? He's way the fuck over here. But then there's like the other 2 or 3 boys down here keeping Oscar in the pool, right? So this kid, this older brother, grabs Oscar by the hair and counts to 3 and says, take a deep breath, and puts him under the water, right? And they start timing. Ely arrives and rescues him by killing and dismembering the bullies, except for one who is left sobbing on the bench. And that scene is probably the best scene in the whole movie. And you see almost nothing. Like, you see a little bit kind of from Oscar's perspective, although Oscar at this point, I believe, is unconscious or starting to become unconscious. But we see everything from under the pool anyway, from under the water. But it is like one of the best, it is 100% the best shot of the whole movie. We then see Oscar on a train with Ely in a box beside him. Ely taps in Morse code for kiss to Oscar, who responds with the same. I am not 100% sure how I feel about the train scene. I have to admit, it is probably my one problem. Because Oscar is now taking the place of Hacken. Hacken? I can't remember his name now. I don't think I was saying it right anyway. Right, Hacken. Okay, he's taken his place. He is now the caregiver for Ely. Okay, I am assuming. Okay, this has got to be a cycle because Ely's been doing this a while. Ely says, I am 12, but I have been 12 for a very long time. Okay, but we're not given any insight into how long a long time is. So if Oscar is taking the place of Hackett, I don't see how well that's going to go. This is a kid who has put up, I'm going to assume, for a very long time with bullies. Okay. He didn't stand up for himself until Ely basically told him to, right? But even in defending himself, he just made the situation worse, right? Because, well, one, he escalated it, right? Yes, the kids took kind of a switch to him earlier, right? Well, two. One got him across the face and he did get a little cut. And the other one was like just sort of whipping at his ankles or something, it looked like. But he wasn't hurt, okay? It hurts the pride, makes you feel embarrassed, all that kind of stuff, right? It is emotional, yes, okay? But he wasn't physically hurt, okay? There was no real physical damage. When Oscar mollywopped Connie with the pole, he deafened the boy. Okay. He split his ear this way and deafened him in that ear. Yes, the kid was an asshole. Yes, the kid was a bully. And yes, the kid deserved to get his ass handed to him. But not so excessively, right? Like, I mean, you dish out what you were given, right? You don't, if somebody punches you, you maybe punch them back. I've always told my kids, in the case of bullying, if somebody is physically on you, okay, if your body is in danger, you physically fight back. You do, in the sense that you do whatever you need to do to get that person on the ground. Once they are on the ground, you are hands off and you go for help. You do not continue. Once they are on the ground, that's it. Game over. You've proven your point. Get to safety. The only reason you're fighting back is to get that person in a state where they can't, they have to stop whatever they're doing, right? To stun them, to daze them, whatever, right? Not to necessarily like permanently physically disable them. You know what I'm saying? Like you certainly don't want to end anybody, but you don't want to say deafen somebody. You don't want to blind somebody. Like, I mean, that's really not, I mean, we're talking in the context of schoolyard bullies, okay? Not in a life and death situation. A schoolyard bully, okay? You're not, like, Oscar took it too far, is what I'm saying, right? So even when he did fight back, he did it wrong and made things worse, right? He brought more attention, more heat on himself. So if he's supposed to take Hacken's position as caretaker, right, he needs to be able to protect Ely, but also stay under the radar. He needs to be able to make sure that she has, sustenance, but not bringing upon them all kinds of eyes and attention. And I don't think that Ely can do that. Right? That's the only problem I have at the very end of this movie. Other than that, this movie is fucking phenomenal, and I highly recommend that you go check it out. Like I said, right now it's on Tubi for sure, and it has the subtitles with it. But I will dig around and put anywhere else you can watch it in the description. So, having said that, I thoroughly enjoyed doing this, and this is the longest breakdown I've ever done. I hope it gets the view it deserves. But until next time, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in the next one.